Coming up on Tech News Today, did HP just kill AMD? Why Microsoft forfeited the tablet wars? And Google Reader makes some people stabby. All that and more coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, November 1st, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford, featuring voice-activated Sync App Link. Now you can control select smartphone apps with your voice, so you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Check it out in the 2012 Ford Fiesta and at Ford.com/technology. And by Ring Central, the leader in cutting-edge cloud phone systems for business. For your 30-day risk-free trial, call 800-800-4070 or visit ringcentral.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz, Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
Audio listeners probably won't notice too much, but I'm actually at home today, working from home for technical reasons. People on the live stream know we don't have to get into that, but we're very happy to be joined by Mr. Nilay Patel of TheVerge.com, officially as of today. Congratulations, Nilay.
I feel like I've been coming on your show every few weeks and teasing it. Now I can be like, it's The Verge. Here we are. Let's look at it. It's cool.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little later in the show, but it's exciting that you guys have launched. And pass my congratulations along to Josh and everybody there.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they will look at you like the sleepless zombies they are. And
yeah, you guys were up until what, 4 in the morning launching it?
Yeah, we launched at 4, and then I was saying before, we kind of just stared at it till 6 a.m. and then passed out for like 2 hours and got up at 8. So it's been a sleepless couple days, but I think it's been worth it.
Well, that's great. We'll talk about it in depth because it's news today in the tech world. But let's start off with the HP announcement confirming the rumors today that they plan to make servers based around ARM chips. Pitching it as cheaper to run. Energy core server on a chip would use as little as 1.5 watts. That's about a tenth of their current servers, they say. Chips will be manufactured by a Texas company called Calxeda, or Calxeda, C-A-L-Z-X. I'm sorry, C-A-L-X-E-D-A. And because of heat issues, in other words, they don't generate as much heat, you can pack a lot more chips into the equipment. So they think they can get 288 Calxeda chips into a 4U rack mount server. Equipment may take up 94% less space than normal servers. Now, HP says this is not a replacement for all Intel-based servers, and it's better as web servers, not as big number crunchers. And they also say that they're going to be working with Intel on Atom processors as well. I think the upshot of this for the consumer, though, is this is bad news for AMD.
Wait, how is that the upshot for the consumer? That the downshot? Is that what you meant?
I guess it's the trickle down effect would be, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That if AMD is locked out of the server market, which we're not saying they absolutely are, but if you've got a choice between low power ARM chips, low power Atom chips, regular Intel chips, if people start moving that way, AMD doesn't really make a widely popular low power chip.
Right. This is funny. This is like two companies that are both flailing their way towards some sort of future, right? It's HP kind of deciding what it wants to do in servers and how it wants to do servers, and they're in a big fight with Oracle over servers and all this stuff, and what software they're going to use, and Oracle might not support Titanium, right? Isn't that the big story? So this is like them exploring big options, right? And the loser is only AMD because AMD has failed to aggressively get into ARM the way that every other chip manufacturer has gotten into ARM, and Intel has sort of like ducked out of, right? I mean, Intel isn't in mobile the way they need to because they didn't go to ARM right away, but they make the more popular desktop and server chips. AMD is kind of like, well, why didn't you get into the cell phone processor game first and build out a mobile processor that uses less power, generates less heat, and eventually make it so powerful that you could then use it in a server? And it's kind of like you're seeing these two giants they're flailing towards a collision here with this piece of news.
But the way smartphones are going and the way that ARM is licensable, I mean, if AMD is really scared about what's going to happen to their future, I mean, they seem like they're more likely to license ARM versus someone like Intel, where they keep saying, look, we'll come up with low enough power stuff for your cell phones eventually. And I remember there was this quote from an Intel exec saying, we'll go to ARM if the right company came along to do that. But I think AMD, if they're really scared, if they might actually make the move to go into ARM if this kind of thing takes off.
Well, you know what's funny about AMD is that they own ATI, right? And you see what NVIDIA is doing with ARM. I mean, the Tegra chip is out there. The Tegra 2 is in every Android tablet and a bunch of phones, right? I mean, AMD could very well take an ARM license the same way NVIDIA did, glue their advanced graphics stuff onto it, and say, look, we're in the game. We're back in the game. It took, NVIDIA, 3 years and maybe 2 generations of chips to become a major player. There's no reason AMD couldn't do that either, but they haven't demonstrated any sort of commitment to mobile in a way that suggests they understand what's happening in the industry at large. With the server stuff, they're aiming at web servers, like big iron web servers. What's interesting is that Facebook is doing their open data center plans. If HP and the ARM guys can convince Facebook to say, well, let's build your open data centers around ARM. Let's make them small and more power efficient and more green. I mean, this could be an enormous shift away from Intel and the enterprise as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This is pretty earth-shaking news in the chip sector, and it could mean a lot of things downstream, as Nilay pointed out, the trickle-down effect. Also announced out there today, Yahoo intends to buy ad network Interclick for $270 million. They're banking on this being part of their strategy to start making money again. They're offering $9 a share. Yahoo intends to use the company's tech and relationships to help it sell more of their remnant inventory that they currently outsource. And if they can sell it directly, they can keep a bigger percentage of it. Also, at the same time, Yahoo board member David Kenny, who's been rumored as a possible replacement for CEO Carol Bartz. Yahoo doesn't have a CEO right now. David Kenny told Ad Age, I am not and will not be a candidate for the CEO position. So...
He stepped down last week from the position as president of Akamai, which he had held for, I think, about a year. So that's one of those things where the timing seems perfect, and so people can jump to conclusions. But he sounds pretty adamant that he will not be Yahoo CEO.
Why wouldn't anybody want that job? I mean, it's such a great company, and the management is so strong, and your board members are always behind you until they kick you out, right?
When you hear Yahoo, you know exactly what you're getting.
And you know what they do, too. Premier Digital Company or whatever that is.
Premier Digital, yeah. If you're the CEO of Yahoo, what 3 things do you keep? You're going to fire everybody and keep 3 things. What would you keep?
Yahoo Sports, Flickr, and...
LiveStand, because we just released it.
Yeah, it's a third one that's hard.
Right, exactly.
It's like the first 2 are really easier. I'll keep Flickr. I love fantasy football. And
I'd keep Mail. That'd be my third.
Mail. Okay, Mail's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Even though not a ton of people still think of Yahoo Mail, there's still a lot of people who use it.
Right. But is it does it generate revenue for them? I guess that's like the big question, right? Where I think of Yahoo Fantasy Football as being like this huge traffic driver. Everybody uses it. Flickr's the same way. Yahoo Mail is like, it's my friends who haven't switched to Gmail yet. Maybe maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, Yahoo Mail is my extra account. It's the account I use in public. It's and I do actually pay for Yahoo Mail Plus, although I don't know how many other people are that silly. I use a couple of the features of that. I probably shouldn't, but it's still only $20 a year. They got some advertising on there.
It's the same people who pay AOL for dial-up internet access when they have like a cable modem.
Hey, now it's not quite that useless. They just hijack. If you want pop access to Yahoo Mail that doesn't go away every time Yahoo makes a change, you gotta pay their blood money for it. That's the only reason I pay for it. And then Yahoo buying Interclick, that's just them trying to shore up their advertising, which the deal with Microsoft was supposed to do that as well, but it hasn't. But I'll give it to Ross Levinson. He's Yahoo America's boss. He thinks he can fix Yahoo with new talent and technology, and Interclick is part of the plan because they intend to use their relationships to sell that remnant inventory. So best of luck. Maybe Levinson should be the new CEO. Any takers?
Anybody?
No.
Nobody.
Well, what about this investigation of Interclick?
I don't know what to make of that. Iyaz turned up a couple of press releases in there about investigations into Interclick doing fiduciary responsibility because they didn't shop around enough. I noticed that these law firms actually do this quite often. I don't know if this is just sort of a standard procedure thing or if there's anything to it.
This is just blood in the water for scam artists. I mean, every merger is accompanied by, little class action firms that say they represent the shareholders of a big company or a little company, and they say you didn't get enough value for the shareholders, and now you have to pay everybody $1, and we'll collect, 50% of the rest of it in fees. I mean, this stuff goes away. I wouldn't look too much into this.
For that, Yahoo, I think they paid a 21% premium on the stock. So I mean, they did give their money's worth to this company, Interclick.
We also got an interesting story from Second Life founder Philip Rosedale launching something called Coffee and Power, an online marketplace where people can buy or sell small tasks and services. Now, they're bigger tasks than Mechanical Turk, which is Amazon thing where, if you read 5 pages of something, you can charge 5 cents per page or whatever. It's more of a hobbyist thing, like I'll take your picture, or I'll cook you a turkey, or just little tasks, and you use virtual currency for them. Coffee and Power takes 15% if you want to pull that virtual currency out as real cash. But if you keep it in the system, you can pay other people to do things. And they've created a coffee shop in San Francisco where people can meet up to exchange the things. If you like, I made you a doily, I can bring it. I don't have to give you my home address. I can just meet you at this coffee place. Sarah, you know where that place is. You said you've passed by it a few times.
Yeah, it's actually pretty close to where I live, and I could never figure out. I'd go by and look in and say, it seems like a coffee shop, but something's weird. Something's off about this. It's not called Coffee and Power, so maybe they should change their name so that it makes more sense. But it'd be very convenient for me. Iyaz, if you would like to meet me at the Coffee and Power retail store to give me the doily that you made me, I will pay you.
Well, yeah, that's. I went to
virtual currency.
I went to the site and I took a look at this, and it seems pretty user friendly. I think one of the bigger things that Coffee and Power is trying to put out there, instead of like Craigslist, you have this verification of people's identity. So if I really was making you a doily, which I am, if I was, you would actually know it was me that you were talking to, instead of going, okay, well, is this somebody pretending to be him or not? I think I guess that's the real hook here, because there's a lot of weird services that people are offering, like making doilies, making beanies, or weird. Like, let's see, I wish I wrote down some of these things. I thought they were really strange. Somebody wanted help with SEO. Somebody wanted help to code an iPhone app that's
there was
really
like
popular.
I want this to be this for Halloween, but I'm not creative. Make me my Halloween costume. It's you're outsourcing little things in your life. This is like a very hot thing right now. Everybody, what's the TaskRabbit? So, for example, it's like that's people performing tasks for you, like building a piece of IKEA furniture that you don't want to spend the time and effort to do. This seems a little bit more like an exchange of goods, but same idea.
Will the virtual currency turn off anybody to actually trying this in the first place? Because, I mean, you have to buy in, and then you have to stay in there for the most amount of, I guess, benefit. Otherwise, when you take out your,
it's like pulling out of a 401k early.
15% right off. So.
I mean, isn't it just kind of like you don't have enough cool friends, so you're gonna go buy some cool friends with talents? I mean, is that wrong? Is that like I don't know.
But you got all the contacts, because like one of them is like, I will ship anything from Tokyo, Japan to you, which is like, okay, wait, maybe I don't have a hookup in Tokyo because I want to get a really cool product. It's only out there, and like Dynamism doesn't sell it. You can find it that way. So maybe because I'm not as cool as Nilay Patel.
No, I don't have any friends in Japan either. I'm thinking of like the I'll make you a crochet octopus guy.
There's also a woman right now saying for $15 I will offer you common sense. So it's like some of that stuff. Unless for some reason she's widely regarded as the most sensical person I could ever meet.
Yeah. What's your warranty on your common sense?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Is it returnable?
Either that or that's like slang for being a prostitute that we just don't understand yet. I
think it's one or the other. Might be slang for something too. I think this is an interesting idea. I think there is something to be said, especially when the economy takes a downturn in the macro sense. You see a lot of these kind of ideas floated. And Philip Rosedale hit on this from Second Life. He said he saw all the virtual goods and marketplaces that people were making in Second Life, and he said, well, what about doing that in real life with people who have skills that, yeah, maybe you have a few cool friends, but you don't have a cool friend who can do the one thing that you actually need right then, cast the net a little wider, and create a sub-economy. I think that virtual currency is going to be a hang-up for people getting in. If it ever got big enough, though, it wouldn't be, because you can just buy other things within that economy. but it's going to take a while for it to get there if it ever does.
It's also going to take a while for trust to be built. I mean, right now you look at the site and no one really, it says trusted by no one for now under everybody's username, and that's because it's new. Some of these folks, as long as there's enough engagement, will rise to the top, and then you know that if this person wants to edit your resume and they're trusted by 150 people, then it's probably a good use of $10, virtual dollars.
All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Ford, makers of Ford Sync and Ford Sync App Link, which enables you to control select apps from your smartphone with simple voice commands. While you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road, you drive safely, don't get distracted, but you're like, wait a minute, I want to listen. I've decided I suddenly want to listen to my Pandora channel of They Might Be Giants type music. You can just say to your car, launch Pandora, voice control, Pandora in your car. You can listen to your tweets if you're like, you know what, I want to hear what's going on Twitter. OpenBeak, just by asking a simple voice command. Once your smartphone is linked to these apps, you select your favorite station, make new ones, read your tweets out in OpenBeak. You just say read timelines, and it'll read the timelines. Read replies. It'll read all your at replies to you. Sync AppLink is built on an API platform that allows Ford to continue to work with Ford Tech AppLink developers in the app community, so they'll be bringing new apps along as well. And we're very excited because Ford is bringing us TWiT Sunday barbecues in November and December. So if you happen to be around Petaluma area, or you're going to be heading through this way, check it out. Sunday, November 13th at 1:30 p.m., we'll be having a Ford barbecue. You'll have a chance to meet, eat, and maybe check out some new Fords. You'll have seats to watch the TWiT recordings, Tech Guy, This Week in Tech, and you can request tickets by going to twit.tv. Just click on the link there. We'd love to see you come out for the barbecue. We thank Ford for helping us put it out there. And, of course, we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Well, let's get to the biggest news in Nilay's world today, the launch of The Verge. And also the change of a name. The Verge, of course, we mentioned at the beginning of the show, longer form magazine articles a la Wired, product database integrated with the news comparison tools. And Sports Blog Inc., SB Nation folks, who are your parent company, changed their name to Vox Media today, as sort of reflecting that they're more than just sports blogs. And they say they have plans to move beyond tech even.
Yeah, I mean, down the line, there's a million things you can think of. I'm personally going to start a site about parrots, keeping parrots, talking to parrots, training them to speak.
I had no idea that you were such a parrot fan.
Well, it's funny. I read all that Richard Stallman stuff like last week about how much he loved parrots, and I'm just making parrot jokes ever since. No, so it's it's exciting.
I think you'd have at least one reader in Stallman.
Yeah, you should have him on the show if you would use the technology, because I realize Skype is not open source. No, launching The Verge is really exciting. Changing the name of the company is kind of like, well, we have an executive team, we have a sales team, we have an HR, and they don't work for the sports side or the tech side. They're the company. And so that just made sense to have them sit over the top of everything. And then the two editorial teams, the one on the sports side for SB Nation and the one on our side for Verge, could, basically run as fast as they can and do really great editorial. So that's a story there. I think that was expected. Announcing the name Vox. It's a cool logo. It kind of looks like the letters are all kind of messed up a little bit if you look closely.
For anybody who's confused, because they remember Vox as the 6-apart blog platform, this is totally different.
Totally different. Yeah, that was all gone. I mean, that's been gone for years, right? So, we picked it up. I didn't do any of the trademark searching, but I know our general counsel did, and so that's all ours now. We're a whole new thing.
Got it.
So how is The Verge going to be different than Engadget? I mean, you guys, majority of you came over from there. What are you guys going to do that sets yourself apart, not just from where you've been, but from all the other tech blogs and stuff out there?
Well, let me tell you sort of the big picture, and then, if we want to click into the site, I can show you some of the very specific things. So the big picture is, we left Engadget. We all trickled out, and then we decided we want to keep working together, and then this is my next. And along the way, one of the big things we decided was we have to rethink everything that we do. We have a really great opportunity to slow down, to stop posting 50 posts a day, to consider what tech journalism should look like and feel like. And so we've made a lot of changes. There's a lot of things that we're using technology to do. People have been seeing our videos, and this is my next maybe. We've really upped how we're producing our videos. We've changed the tone of our editorial. It's not as jokey and frat boy-y and snarky as it used to be. we think people are really excited about technology and really passionate about it, and we want to engage that and talk to audience. You know, everybody has a cell phone now, right? Everybody has a smartphone. My sister has a rooted Android phone. Everything isn't an inside joke about boobs, you know, and that's sort of pervasive in blogging, and we wanted to come up above that. And so that's like the big picture is let's grow this up. Let's grow this format up. Let's take ourselves seriously. Let's be the journalists that we think, you know, and we hope that we are. And then we have the technology to do it, you know, the platform that was at SB Nation. You know, if you go back, let me show you two really cool things that we have on the site. So if you scroll up, I realize I'm not driving here, so this is probably super annoying. There's two things that I think are really great. So the first is if you click on Condo at the End of the World, we're doing these really long format magazine style features. You know, we all love Wired. We love what Wired did. I grew up reading long form features in Wired. So we have these really great layouts. If you scroll down, you can see what's going on there.
It's still loading. Yeah, I've got a lot of links on here though. So
I apologize for typing slow. So you know, we have really crazy layouts. And then let me try to find a story stream on our front page, because I think that's something that is maybe the biggest piece of technology that we have, and it's something that I'm very proud of. So while that is loading, and I apologize for the slowness here.
Here, hold on one second.
So it looks. I also read that Topolsky said you want it to almost feel like an app, and
yes.
I think it does execute on that. When I was reading it on my iPad, I felt like I was using an app. I'm not sure how well that's translated to me on a web browser, though. It almost feels like I'd rather have a different version of it when I'm on my desktop, because it still looks like an app there.
Right. So you know, the app thing it means two things. So yeah, it feels like an app on the iPad, and that's like, you know, we want it to be a modern design. We want it to be like you can flick around it and there's information everywhere. When we say app, what we mean is that it is a piece of technology that's growing, right? And we have developers who are actively iterating on it, whereas I think a lot of sites they don't get new features. So you know, we launched with you know, maybe 50 or 45% of the features that we, you know, when we were all sitting around at the beginning dreaming up what we wanted the site to look like, you know, we left a bunch of that stuff on the cutting room floor, and our developers they're coming right back at it. You know, once we launch, all the bugs are cleaned up. After this week, they're going to reassess. Okay, what features can we add in version 1.1? What can we add in 1.2? And those will happen on a steady schedule. We're going to give the site version numbers. We're going to do a change log, just like any other app that you might have in your phone, right? And so that's what we mean by when we say it's an app. Like, we want to add features. We want the technology of the site to be living and breathing, just like apps on your phone. When it comes to the interface, I mean, that stuff will change. You know, we're figuring out exactly how everything should work the best. I think people are really comfortable with the blog layout, but I think it's really limiting in how you can present information to people and how you can tie stories together. And so we want to kind of grow beyond it. So we've done this hybrid news blog layout where there's a ton of stories. It's still reverse cron. It's just, instead of going straight down, you go left to right and then down. And
maybe it's just going to take me getting used to that, because when I'm used to that, like, straight down one after the other, and it's leading my eye all over the place. But it looks gorgeous. I have to give you huge props for that. I mean, this looks like a magazine.
What about the product database that you're building? Do you consider yourselves GDGT competitors now?
Well, you know, they do something different than what we do. So you know, they're completely crowdsourced. I think they have a small team that does database stuff. If you scroll up to the top, you can click on products, you can go in the database. We have a dedicated team of interns. We have like 20 interns in our office in New York who are cleaning this data, putting it in, they're conforming it to specs, so that you can make real comparisons. You know, when you look at a product in our database, that it's a real thing. So if you click on that phone, you were over a phone there, right? If you click on that, there's a compare tool that's really awesome. If you click compare, it'll be added to a light box kind of in the corner. So you hit compare, you'll see it'll flash at you. And then you can hit compare, and then you can add another phone to it. And this like works. You can add, like, I think it's up to 6 or 7 or 8 or a million. I'm not sure what the true number is. You can click on another phone and it'll just add it. And the system is smart. It knows that you can't compare a phone to a TV and all this other stuff. So this stuff is really cool. And, you know, one of the most popular posts we ever do is when a new phone comes out, we do like tail the tape, or, you know, by the numbers, and we compare it to all the specs. We can generate this stuff instantly now. And you can look at what phones are like, what they cost, what carriers they're on. And, you know, the database is just another feature of our site. It's like when we say it's an app, this will grow too, and we'll add functionality to this as well. And that's why I'm excited. So when you say, are we a GDGT? I think they're doing something different, right? They're very crowdsourced. They're not editorially driven. Our first priority is news, right? We're putting up 50 posts a day. We're doing long form features. We're doing in-depth reviews. The database exists to serve the news and help us tell that story better and put context around our news. And so it's a little bit different.
I noticed when you type in thisismynext.com, it takes you to The Verge. I remember you had mentioned at one point that there might be a place for This Is My Next as an element of this. Are there any plans for that, or are we just saying, you know what, it's all migrated over to The Verge? Everything that you loved about This Is My Next is there.
Well, so content-wise, that's true. All the stuff is there. We did 3 million uniques at This Is My Next on a WordPress.
I know, it was pretty impressive for a beta.
I mean, it was literally a stop. I think we paid $40 for it, for that theme. And we changed a little bit of it, right? We put a logo on top of it. And we did like 5 posts a day, and they were editorials and reviews. And then, sometimes we did live vlogs. All that stuff. I mean, we're building our news piece around that stuff, around, how good our senior team is at figuring out what's going on in the industry, how good we are at reviewing stuff. I think we have the best team at that stuff. So we're building around that. What we're adding is, okay, well, now you can get all your news here. You don't have to go everywhere else, then come to This Is My Next for an editorial about how this phone is good or bad. You can get all your news right here. Here's 50 posts a day of constantly updating tech news, and then we'll piece it together for you. And I really do want to get to story streams because this is like a key thing. So if you scroll down, there is, is this the Apple subsite? Where are you? Keep scrolling.
I believe I'm just Verge.com.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, he's at the front page.
Keep scrolling. There's an iPhone 4S post down here somewhere. Okay. iPhone 4S launches in Europe.
iPhone 4S.
You guys are going to continue to do your podcasts and your videos and all of that stuff as well. Some people in the chat room were asking about that.
Oh, yeah. So the podcast is back on. We're actually going to start doing a video podcast out of our office. We're excited about that. We have a lot to learn from you guys, so I'm sure that we'll look pretty silly. Yes, so click on that post. And then we're doing a new show called On the Verge, which we'll start shooting shortly. So this is just a post about the iPhone 4S, and I think this is what's really cool. So if you scroll down a little bit, you see it says part of the story stream. Now, it's part of 2 streams, and those are all the other related posts about the iPhone 4S that we've curated by hand. So you can jump around in the stream. You can see what else is going on. If you click on everything you need to know, you get to see the stream container.
Where am I?
It's on the right side.
On the right side.
Yep.
Everything...
So if you go above it and just click on everything you need to know. So this is like a piece of technology that nobody else has, and I'm really, really excited about it. I think these are going to help us tell big stories. So now if you scroll down, you can see all of the posts we've done about the iPhone 4S, but they're curated, right? So it's not like a tag page. It's not like a topic page. It's more like, here's a story about this thing that we're assembling for you. It's almost like a microvlog or something. And you can see the comments. You can jump into things individually. We have a little nav on the left side there. This is the sort of thing where our technology team is really trying to push ahead and give us tools to do publishing in a new way. And it's stuff like this that I'm kind of the most excited about. Yeah, if you click on it, it does smooth scrolling. It's kind of cool. So, I mean, it's stuff like this that, I think we proved that we have a good team, and we did This Is My Next on a WordPress blog, and we were competitive. And our team hit the top 10 of TechMeme. And now we have all these tools. We have a big staff of interns doing our product database. We have a big staff of new writers doing the day-to-day news grind for us. I'm excited. I think we have a real opportunity to change a lot of things and push kind of the industry forward. And it's a little bit hyperbolic, but I'm really excited about it. I also haven't slept at all.
Yeah, exactly. You've been up all night, and you've been working on this for a long time as well, so I understand that. But it looks great. These poll quotes are cool. I wish they weren't all caps. I feel a little like it's shouting, but I like the idea of pulling something out and bringing my eye to it. I really like the 5 minutes with John Gruber that you put up today. I think that's a cool concept.
Yeah. We'll be doing a lot of those.
So
with people from all over, and we have forums. That's the last
yeah, you know what? If you can steal a little of the community vibe from Viva Alberto's, one of those other SB Nation sites,
that's the idea.
You'll put the cherry on top of the ice cream there. So congratulations on the launch.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Exciting. We're really happy.
Cool. Let's move over into some Google news today. Google gave
Speaking
Google
of design.
Yeah, believe me, you're light years ahead. Google gave Google Reader a +1 makeover, essentially getting rid of all of their sharing options and replacing it with Google Plus, which makes sense. You want to tie everything into Google Plus because that's your leading horse right now, so you want to use that for all of your integration. But they left out the share bros, the people who love using Google Reader's sharing options, because they just ripped it out. They said it's not there anymore. You can't use it. You can export your old data if you want, but you can't make new shares. 10,000 share bros have signed a petition to Google created by Washington, D.C.-based grad student Brett Keller, trying to get the functionality put back. I don't know that Google's going to be able to do that, though. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to have two different ways of sharing content on Google Reader, and so I get why they want to have Google Plus. But the other people are upset because Google Reader, it changed their layout, and it looks entirely different now. It's much cleaner, but it's also brighter. And today, anyway, it wasn't working very well. I was having a hard time with my Google Reader. I rely on that every day to put together the lineup, and constantly I was waiting for it to load, waiting for it to mark stories as read. I had to do a little trickery where I'd click on a feed from a particular site and it wouldn't come up, so I'd click on another feed and click back, and then somehow that would make it come up. And that's normal with the Launcha stuff. But anybody else working in Google Reader have opinions on this? Sarah, what do you think of the way it looks?
I'm a big Google Plus user, and I like Google's products to integrate with each other as well as possible. So for me, none of this stuff is bothersome. However, I understand that if people had friends, people that were following them on Google Reader, they had favorites, all that stuff gets wiped out. Google has pretty much said, if you want to use Google Plus, then Google Reader is a great product for you. If you don't want to use Google Plus, then we'd be happy to, show you what Reader might be better for you. So that's the attitude that's upsetting people.
Well, there's a new look for Gmail, too.
That's true. I'm not crazy about it.
That's driving me nuts because when I have it in different tabs, Gmail and Google Reader, since they look almost exactly the same, as I'm swapping tabs, I can't identify one as the other right away. Like, I can't tell what's what right away, just at a glance. Gmail looked very different than Google Reader. And now the Reader, you can still theme things in Gmail now, so at least you can make it look different. But Reader was loading really slow. And the people who are complaining about sharing, by the way, you can still set up a way to send items in the Send To option. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not the same as it was, but
they bury it a little bit. They want you to use a Google Plus circle that's limited first. And if you really want to send it to Twitter, they don't deny you that option. It's just, it's not as incorporated as it used to be. That doesn't surprise me. Of course Google would want to do this.
Even when you start up Reader, they have that big splash on the front that says, if you don't like basically it says, if you don't like what you see, you can export your data and get out of here. That's what they've been very upfront about this.
Which I think
we're going to annoy a lot of you.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's an upfront way for Google to say, this is, if you're upset, you have other options, but people take that as, we don't care about you anymore.
It's like 10,000
So
people.
it's just 10,000 people.
For Google?
That's 10,000 people who sign a petition. Think about all the people who are never going to do that. There's some very upset people.
There's also another Google Drive story today. The tiniest bit of information gets people really excited. Brazilian technology website Gmind managed to unlock a hidden reference to the service in Google Docs. You have to open up the developer console, choose a script, break the script, reload the page, and then you'll see a menu option to download Google Drive contents. Doesn't work, but it's evidence that such a thing actually exists. Wow. Nilay, can you explain why people are so excited about Google Drive and just slobbering to have more information about it?
I think it's love for Google and the idea that you can put more and more of your information in the cloud away from your computer. I think people have turned the corner. I think they trust putting their information on the internet on somebody else's server much more than they trust having it on their computer. I think that's been a slow. I remember when I was in college and I was like, I don't want to use IMAP. I want to download everything on POP and have it on my machine where I control it. And now it's like, please God, just take this away from me. I don't want to deal with it. Give me a web interface.
It frees you up, right?
That's part of it. Yeah, it frees me up. The Google Reader stuff is it's funny. I just use Reader as a backend for clients, right? I use the Reader on my Mac, and I actually use Reader on my iPad. And it's kind of funny. There's this whole ecosystem of people who use it in like they're in the mix, like they're sharing and they're using it as this like quasi-social network. And then I know an entire other group of people who are like, yeah, I use it to read news. There's no other options. Because there are actually very few other options for kind of like cloud-based news readers.
Yeah, and you know what? Google Reader's interface up till now was fine for me. I use Reader, like you, on my tablet, but I hadn't used it on the desktop because the Reader interface on web was fine. But now it has me wondering, because Reader didn't seem to have any of the same issues on my tablet that it did, that Reader had in the web. So maybe I should drop the $10 on the desktop. I mean, Google may have just made a lot of money for third-party apps.
I think there's a huge market here. You know, we talk about this. You know, feeds are a big part of our day, right? We have to look at the news. Like anybody, you guys know, right? So we talk about like other options, and there's like none basically. Reader is like totally dominant in the market, which is why it's like, okay, well, if you're going to make huge changes that piss off all your readers, like you're going to do two things. Like one, there will be people who call themselves share bros in the world, and they will start petitions. And that's your fault. Like, you are responsible for the word share bro. And you should think about that, Larry Page. Two, there's an enormous opportunity for alternative readers, particularly web-based readers that you can access anywhere, where there hasn't been a market for that stuff in the past because Google's been so dominant. So maybe Google's screw-up will lead to some major innovation here.
Yeah. All right, let's finish up with that kind of long-form journalism that Nilay was saying The Verge is going to focus on doing more of. This one coming from Jay Green at CNET in this case. But a two-part story. First part came out today about why Microsoft killed the Courier. Now, it's a fascinating read. We're not going to get into all the nooks and crannies in this article. I highly recommend going and taking a look at it. But here's some of the key points. In 2010, Microsoft had two tablet efforts going on. They had one led by Jay Allard. He's the guy who brought the Xbox. He developed the web strategy for Microsoft back in the 90s. And he was developing the Courier, if you heard about that. It was a tablet that folded open like a book and had two 7-inch screens. Then you had Steve Sinofsky with his Windows team making a tablet operating system that was part of the Windows universe. The Courier ran on Windows, but it was a modified version of Windows that they had tweaked the entire GUI on, so it didn't look anything like Windows. Steve Ballmer didn't know what to do. He was like, should I let these two teams compete? Should I kill one of them? He went to Bill Gates, who was still retired at the time. And
this part of the story is insane, by the way.
He went to Bill Gates. He said, hey, you know what? I need your help picking here. Can these guys come and pitch you? So he sent Jay Allard, Robbie Bach, and two other members of the team out to Gates. They were briefing him on the Courier. He seemed to be interested. Then they brought out, he asked, where's the email client? And they gave a very RIM BlackBerry playbook answer and said, you don't need an email client. We think people are going to use this to create content. They can get email on the web. They can check email on their phones. They won't need an email client. And apparently Bill had what they called an allergic reaction to that. Eventually recommended against the Courier. Ballmer killed the Courier. Allard and Bach have both since announced they're retiring. They're still at Microsoft, but they're going to leave Microsoft. They say it has nothing to do with the death of the Courier. But it really shows that Allard was trying to lead an Apple-like movement. Now, you can argue about whether it should have had an email client or not, but he was saying, look, this is consumer-centric. We're building a brand-new GUI from the ground up. I'm doing what I did with the Xbox, where I'm modifying software, the operating system. I'm not just going to give people Windows. And the best part, they would have launched on or around the same time as the original iPad, and they would have been in the game at the same time. Now they're delayed because they picked Sinofsky. We're still waiting for Windows 8 to come out on tablets next year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, we covered the story on The Verge today, and you know, we were talking about these orange pull quotes that we have, and so I was working one up with TC Sadek, who wrote the post for us, and the quote we chose was, Ballmer had the choice between Windows and a revolution, and he picked Windows, because that's what this sounds like to me. It's
you're pretty much dead on there.
You pick the thing that's safe. You pick the thing that Bill Gates made. You know, it's his Windows. Everything in Microsoft when Gates was there was Windows. Let's put Windows in a coffee maker. Let's put Windows on, you know, a TV. Let's do Media Center for some reason, right? Whereas, you know, the market is shaped out to be, let's do these custom focused hardware plus software combinations that people really love, you know, which is what they're doing with the phone. It's kind of amazing that they backed off doing the Courier, and then when they came out with Windows Phone, the line over and over again when they launched Windows Phone was, you have to recognize the phone is not a PC. It demands its own universe of thinking, and it's digitally native and all this stuff around the phone. They sound like lines lifted directly from how do we build a cool tablet that isn't Windows? And it's, why did you do one and not the other? Like, why did you stop doing the? Everybody loves the Courier. Like when we first saw the Courier leaks, our comments were like, this is awesome. This is Microsoft's back. They're in the game. This is radically innovative. And now it's like Windows 8 tablets are like, well, it has a start button that takes you to something that looks like Windows Phone 7, but isn't Windows Phone 7.
The crazy thing
That's what you get.
Crazy thing I keep seeing in these stories when we find out more about Microsoft is how much pushback Jay Allard gets every single time he's got a pretty awesome idea. I want to do Project Pink. I have this idea for a phone. Yeah, we're going to delay that by years, and by the time it comes out, we're going to cripple it. I want to do this amazing dual-screen tablet for content creation that would allow for... There was some interesting aspects about the way this would be used. If you started writing like a math equation, like 5 + 3, it'd give you the number. It'd give you the answer right there. It was actually going to determine what you were doing. If you were using graph papers, things would snap to the lines. Like, these are like brilliant interface ideas that don't exist in current products. And it's just like, wow, if Allard's got all these things, when he leaves Microsoft, I'm very curious to see what he's going to be doing, because I mean, he's also has been a part of the Xbox project this whole time. So he's made that really popular. He made the Zune, the second generation stuff. The first generation was under a different executive, but when he came over, they dumped Toshiba and they moved on to their own manufactured devices. And even though the Zune wasn't a success, the hardware was pretty acclaimed. People loved the sound quality of that thing, even though it was a Zune at the end of the day.
Well, the Zune, that stuff, this is what I'm talking about. That stuff that he did on the Zune, that is the foundation of Microsoft now, right? Metro, it happened on the Zune. And it went to the phone. I mean, the Windows Phone is the Zune UI, like writ large, right? And now they've taken it to the Xbox already with the new dashboard update. They're bringing it to Windows 8. It's like Jay Allard actually accomplished changing Microsoft, but not in any of the ways that he wanted. Right? He was like, well, I got this idea for an interface. They're like, cool, we'll take that, we'll glue it on everything, get out. And it's like, why don't you just let him keep going? Because he had such good ideas about everything.
Yeah, I think this is a very telling tale. I can't wait to see part 2 of it. But yeah, it is definitely the metaphor for Microsoft. Where when people say, why haven't they innovated more? Why haven't they had more successes like the Xbox? This seems to be why. And the funny thing is, I am on Bill Gates' side about the email client. You absolutely do have to have an email client on the Courier. We've seen this with the BlackBerry Playbook. You got to have it. But that's the one minor point. Everything else that they described about the Courier just sounded fantastic, like the snapping to lines that you were talking about, Iyaz, and just the general interface looked like it was going to be fantastic. And you kill it. Why not just say, well, okay, pick the Courier, but add an email client. I'm Bill Gates. I order it.
Wait, can I disagree with you on the email thing for a second?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Here's the thing about the Playbook not having email. The only thing BlackBerries are good at are email, right? I mean, they're awesome messaging devices. They have not traditionally been good at browsing. They do not traditionally have great apps. So when you build the Playbook, the first hook for people is, okay, this tablet is going to rock at email. And it's like, okay, but it doesn't have it. You have to do all this crazy stuff with Bridge. Okay, are the apps really good, though? Because I'll ignore email. I mean, the iPad email isn't wonderful. It's serviceable. It's there. I prefer to do my email on a laptop. I prefer to do my email on a smartphone even sometimes. I think
but on faster. The iPad, do you prefer to do your email in the email app or in the Safari web browser?
Well, it depends on like which email, but a lot of times I just use Gmail. I think the Gmail app is pretty good on
ugh, not me.
It's like fine. Yeah. It's like serviceable, right? I don't prefer to do email on the iPad at all. I think is the thing. I think it's good at a bunch of other stuff, and that good at a bunch of other stuff, I think makes up for the mediocre email experience. The Playbook was like, we're not good at anything. We're RIM. We're really good at email. And we didn't deliver it. I think they could have delivered the Courier and said, this thing is awesome at doing sketches and doing crazy math apps like the one Iyaz was talking about, and all this other stuff you can do with content creation and 2 screens, and here's these crazy ideas about UI. We'll get to email when we figure out how to best do that in this interface, and I think people would have forgiven them for that.
Having been a user of a Playbook, yeah, there's a lot of other things wrong with it besides the email, but having tried to use email in the browser on the Playbook, I still got to disagree with you. You need that client in there. But you may be right that it could have been good enough in all other aspects that would have been a minor thing that they could have fixed with an app release that wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Let's move on to the news fuse. Kevin Haley, a director with Symantec Security Response, told CNET today that the Stuxnet-like Dooku Trojan is infecting computers via a Word document that exploits a previously unknown Windows kernel bug. Microsoft is working on a fix, according to Jerry Bryant, group manager for response communications at Microsoft Trustworthy Computing. So that Dooku virus getting even worse.
Google has introduced GoMo. That's an initiative to try to get more businesses to build mobile versions of their sites. At howtogomo.com, you can see what your site looks like on a mobile device and then find helpful links to mobile site developers that want to make it look better. What's in it for Google, you might wonder? Well, Jason Spiro, who is the Google director of mobile, told All Things D that their interest rate here is people being able to do business on mobile phones, and once they can, we can offer a great marketing solution for them.
For ads, that's great.
Yeah.
Research firm Canalys says that HTC shipped the most smartphones in the United States in the third quarter of this year, with 5.7 million HTC-branded phones, with another 70,000 units shipped under the T-Mobile brand. Worldwide, Samsung is still the leader in smartphones for the same time, but second in the U.S. How about RIM? Canalys senior analyst Tim Shepard says, quote, "The current outlook for it in the U.S. is certainly bleak."
Poor RIM.
Poor guys.
Wired reports some holes in the legitimacy of the anonymous attack on drug cartels we discussed yesterday. Mexican newspaper Milenio reports it interviewed members of Anonymous Mexico, where they said that Op Cartel is false. Anonymous Mexico also announced via Facebook that it denies responsibility for hacking a website related to the cartel. Op Cartel was announced via a YouTube video where it appeared that Anonymous was looking to take on the Zetas, a Mexican drug cartel, and Anonymous Mexico going out of the way to say, no, has nothing to do with us.
Now for patent wars. In its Australia lawsuit, Samsung wants access to the iPhone 4S, Apple's source code, as well as access to the agreements between Apple and 3 Australia telecoms. Samsung claims that the source code is necessary to see if Apple infringes on its 3G patents. And for the telecom contract, Samsung says it needs to see how much money is being used to subsidize the iPhone.
Apple released GarageBand for iPhone 3GS and later, and iPod Touches 3rd gen and higher. The iPad version was released back in March, and if you already have that, you'll get the other versions for free. Otherwise, GarageBand will cost you $5. And I said years ago the iPhone could do this, and people laughed at me. So,
I will say GarageBand and iOS is the one app on the iPad, and I played with it a little bit on the phone today, but it's definitely the one app on the iPad where you show it to people and they're like, oh, this thing's a real computer. I can do some really awesome things with this. I think it's unmatched. It's one of the best tablet apps. Actually, probably just one of the best apps around I've seen. It's really great.
I actually prefer GarageBand on the iPad to GarageBand on my laptop. I'll be honest.
GarageBand on my laptop is like kind of crashy, actually.
Yeah.
I don't trust it a lot, but on the iPad, it's great.
MG Sigler says a native Gmail iPhone app is coming. There you go. Everything's going to be fixed now. Sigler cites multiple sources without naming names, but he believes the app has already been submitted to Apple for approval. The Gmail app would bring push notifications, priority inbox, and starring of messages. Google Apps and the App Store have had a messy history, so who knows how long it would take for an app like that to get approved, but maybe it's coming.
Battlefield 3 is setting some records for EA. In its first week, EA shipped 10 million units. Of those 10 million, for everyone who's like, shipped is not sold, that's true, but 5 million were sold in the first week. For some perspective, Call of Duty Black Ops sold 7 million copies on its first day. Battlefield 3 has seen some gameplay problems due to server issues, but EA Games' Patrick Soderlund told GameSpot that those issues are, to a large extent, resolved.
There's a new piece of malware from Mac OS X called Devil Robber, which uses your GPU to create bitcoins. It also takes screenshots and copies some of your data, like your Safari history. Devil Robber was found by Intego, which makes Mac OS X antivirus software, inside a BitTorrent version of Graphic Converter 7.4. The malware hasn't been found in other torrents yet, but if you're concerned, run a scan on your Mac.
Time now for the numbers.
And with no sound, apparently.
Quiet numbers.
Numbers don't really have voices, do they?
Math
No,
is
they don't make a lot of
reverential.
noise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
It's a time for, self-examination.
Right.
Am I pie? Net Applications has pegged the total share of the dominant operating system in the world at 48.03%, and it's Windows XP. Congratulations, 10-year-old operating system Windows XP. You're still the champ. Windows 7 does come in second at 34.62%. Poor old Windows Vista taken third, but only with 8.65%. Then you get into your Mac OS X versions. Actually, 10.6 more popular still than 10.7. Linux down there beyond 10.7 at 1.19%. And it gets smaller from there. But what do you think it is that XP just works, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it at all. Why move on?
It works well enough that there's really no need to go, okay, you know what? If I install this other operating system, it's going to crush my system. A lot of people don't upgrade because of that. So, I mean, the thing is the number 2 operating system was Windows 7 with 34%. So that's pretty hefty.
Yeah.
Vista is the one that cracks me up at 8.85%. We'll talk about like a huge gap. I mean,
I think there are a lot of companies with people who are using Windows machines, and you know, anytime they ask themselves, is it worth it to upgrade, they can't come up with a good enough reason because they're just chugging along.
Yeah, I mean, they're running Excel, right?
Exactly.
Excel 2003 or whatever it is, and that's all they ever need to do. And
checking
it's like,
their Gmail.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when we were doing The Verge, we had to like draw the cutoff for like what version of Internet Explorer to support, and it was like we actually got requests like, well, we definitely need to support IE6 because it's out there. I'm like, that's a bad. Like, don't do that.
Don't encourage bad behavior. Yeah.
Does it just lead to a redirect to say install a real browser or not?
Yeah, we actually make your computer explode. It's a service we're doing for corporate America.
Right.
We're gonna bring
Now
up the
you
economy
have to
by buy more computers.
All right, let's take a quick break and thank Ring Central. When we needed a business phone system at our new studio at TWiT, the choice was simple. Ring Central, leader in cutting-edge office phone systems. There's no startup cost. You don't have to put in a PBX box. It's affordable, easy to set up. We get more features than the old-fashioned hardware. Fax in your inbox, works with your smartphone. Just does a whole lot more, and the cost is only $25 per user per month. Includes unlimited usage. So check it out, Ring Central. You'll find why it's #1 cloud phone system for business. Get rid of the old PBX system, or don't install one in the first place. If you're starting new, get Ring Central. Leo trusts them. We trust them. We use them. Try them too. Start right now with a 30-day risk-free trial at ringcentral.com, or call their number. It's easy to remember, 800-800-4070. That's 800-800-4070, ringcentral.com. Thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Quick check of the calendar, Sarah.
Today marks the first day of National Novel Writing Month. So if you want to write the great American novel, you got to start today and write till the end of the month. It's also National Blog Posting Month, also known as NaBloPoMo. And then there's also NaPoPoMo, which is National Podcast Posting Month. And of course, if none of those appeal to you, you can just grow out a mustache and call this month Movember.
You could do all of these things at the same time, you know. You could be talking while you're typing on a blog post that becomes a book.
Crazy. I can't grow a mustache and also post podcasts on a daily basis.
Well, you could do No Shave November. Which is
mustache podcast. I mean, this seems like a super easy situation to handle.
Mushcast.
And blogs.
Stashcast. It is done. Stashcast. Yes.
Think about it.
Yes. I really want to be part
I
of
bet
this
that's a thing, though.
Look, I launched The Verge. I came up with Stashcast. What more do you want from me today?
Nothing.
Your career is
You are good. You can retire.
I throw the microphone down, just walk away.
Amazon has launched its Black Friday deals site. It's more of a countdown to Black Friday, offering a bunch of deals leading up to the day after Thanksgiving, of course. LG's MyTouch and MyTouch Q are going to be available on T-Mobile November 2nd for $79. AT&T says the BlackBerry Bold 9900, the Torch 98 and 9860 are coming on November 6th. The Curve 9360 on November 20th. Those numbers are really easy to remember.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, they're just so easy. Apple's iPhone 4S is going to launch in 15 more countries on November 11th. Malta, South Korea, Poland, and Romania, to name a few. Speaking of the 4S, if you're wondering when that iPhone is coming to the C Spire network, wonder no more, because the launch date is November 11th, and they'll be offering an unlimited data plan too. Hey, how about that? The Lumia 800 is arriving on the UK on November 16th, and one thing that should have been on our calendar at the end of October was the launch of iTunes Match, because that's when Apple said that they were launching, but they missed their launch date. When it does eventually launch, it's going to be that $25 a year service, covers 25,000 songs in a user's library against Apple's iTunes library, which currently contains about 20 million songs, but we don't know when that's going to be.
Time to check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
And we got a lot of responses to the guy saying iOS 4S was uploading via backups via 3G and hitting his data cap. First one comes from someone who left us a voicemail.
Hey guys, great show yesterday. Hey, I was just calling in about the iPhone 4S uploading the backup over 3G. I had that happen too. I tell you another thing that's killing my bandwidth cap is photo stream. Taking photos, uploading them. I'm hitting almost a gig, which I've never done before. Thanks. Great job, guys.
I also got some emails. Alex said it may be data and documents that are being backed up over 3G, not your backup, not your storage. So you might want to turn off some of those other options that come before you get to the storage option. Other people asked, was a jailbroken? Because you could have all kinds of things. There's an app called My3G, which tricks apps into thinking that 3G is Wi-Fi. So thanks, everybody, for all your suggestions. Hope that helps our emailer out from yesterday.
You gotta wonder why Sprint isn't hammering the unlimited data with the iPhone. I mean, that's sort of like big competitive advantage with the same phone, right?
Because they want to kill it. That's why. Because they're like, hey, we're gonna yank that away pretty soon. Don't make a big deal out of it. I don't know. That's the only thing I could figure.
I mean,
you'd think they'd be
running ads by now.
What's that?
Go ahead. You'd think the Sprint would be running ads by now. I think it would be such an evil trick if they've been hammering unlimited for so long and then they took it away from people.
They just yanked it. I know. All right, thanks to everybody on our Reddit who submitted stories. technewstoday.reddit.com. That's the place to go if you want to let us know what kind of stories you want to hear. In fact, you don't even have to submit anything. Just look at the list of stuff that's been submitted. Vote some stuff up or down based on your tastes. Also, don't forget to submit your favorite moments of TNT or any show on TWiT for our year-end specials. We're going to start working on our year-end stuff. So go to twit.tv/bestof. And submit your links with your time codes or just a good description of what you thought the best episodes and the best moments were of the year. Nilay Patel, congratulations once again from TheVerge.com. How does it feel?
It feels really great. I'm really excited. I mean, I hope readers like it. I hope that we can, be really good at news and do good reviews. And I hope we do a good job. But most of all, I hope people like what we have because we worked really hard on it.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
thanks everybody for watching or listening. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, and give us a call. Leave us a message. 260-TNT-SHOW is the voicemail number. Clayton Morris joins us on the show today. He's going to have a second baby soon. We'll ask him about that and tech news tomorrow. We'll see you then.